This is an accordion that has not been taken good care of. Someone let it get wet. Someone let it get very dirty. I don't think they let it get hot, but it's wet, dirty, and now things inside are rusted, stuck together. They don't want to work very well. So here's what it sounds like if you don't take good care of an accordion. For one thing, sometimes notes never shut up. I'm not pushing any buttons, but something is stuck open. And on this side, it just sounds terrible. So now you know what it sounds like if you let your accordion get wet, dirty, and don't take good care of it. So be nice to it. So this little sign is a reminder of taking good care of your accordion. This one is a reminder to not let it get too hot. The reeds in the accordions are stuck into place with wax, beeswax mixed with linseed oil. And if it gets too hot, like over 95 or 100 degrees Fahrenheit, then you can begin to smell the linseed oil and you go, oh, it's getting too hot. Quick, let's put it in the cooler place. And if it gets hot enough for the wax to get really soft and then it starts to melt, then the reeds inside will just kind of fall out. Clunk. And if you pick up an accordion that's been damaged by the heat, you put it on or something, you hear something rattling around inside, that means one of those reeds has fallen off of its block. And there's a big hole there now that lets the air whoosh in and out with no reed to make any music. All you have is an accordion that goes whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. No good. So if that happens, it's a very sad thing, but don't throw the accordion away because it can be repaired by someone who's very careful and understands how to take things apart and get rid of the melted wax and put new wax on and set the reed in the right place, the right direction. So it can be fixed. It's not a big, expensive thing to fix if only one or two pieces have fallen off. But it needs to be fixed by someone who's very careful, who understands what they're doing. So I thought I'd show you an example of the wax that's inside the accordion. This is the bass section. And if you look right here, you can see kind of this yellowish stuff. It's holding these metal plates on the top and then down the sides and along the bottom edge where you can't see it either. It's not very thick. It's just enough to kind of stick it on there. And that's the only thing that's sticking them on there. So if it gets too hot and that wax melts, then these plates will just fall out and leave a hole behind here. So that's what we're talking about. The other part of this sign has to do with water. Now, if somehow the outside plastic part of the accordion gets sticky, little greasy, sticky fingerprints on it, you can take a cloth, a rag that's got water on it and wring out almost all the water so that it's almost dry, and then just kind of wipe carefully and make it clean on the red outside surface. That's okay. But if it gets rained on, or if you're playing the accordion and you have a drink and the drink dribbles down into the accordion and gets inside, oh, that's very bad. Or in the keys or something, it can make the wood swell up and get stuck together, and it can make the reeds, which are steel, get rust on them, and sometimes they get stuck and don't want to wiggle anymore when the air blows. And it doesn't have to be a lot of water. It doesn't have to be rain, or it doesn't have to be a drink. It can just be dew. Like if you leave the accordion sitting outside overnight, And if there's dew, then the accordion gets dew on the surface and on the inside, and that can make things rust also. So when you're through playing the accordion, put it away in its box. And if you have to travel, keep it in its box in a car, or when you walk, keep the lid shut. Keep it safe from water. Keep it safe from big clouds of dirty dust. Keep it safe from hot sun, either sitting out in the open with the sun shining down really hot. That's bad. Or if you take it in a car, and you have to leave the car for a while with the windows rolled up in the hot sun, and the whole inside of the car gets very hot, that can make the wax melt too. Just keep it safe. Don't set it down on the ground and walk away and leave it. If you have dogs running around, the dogs might come and urinate on, anything that's standing up, like an accordion on the ground. Or, a dog might want to drag it around and play with it. Or a little child, a toddler might come and, push it down and stand on it and do this kind of thing like babies do. So keep it safe from heat, water, and children and animals. Sometimes it's tempting to take an accordion apart to see what it looks like inside, to see how it works. Oh, I was curious, how does it do this? How does it work? Well, please don't take this accordion apart. I've included lots of photographs in the case with the paperwork and stuff. There's lots of photographs of what it looks like taken apart, because I had to take it apart to repair it and get it into good tune. And so now it's all back together. Everything's in really good shape. And if you take it apart, you might lose the little pieces, the little pins and screws, or you might get dirt in, or something might happen to hurt the accordion. So especially on the bass side here, this accordion does have some little screws, but do not ever unscrew the bass side of this accordion, ever. Even if you're a repairman and you know what you're doing, don't ever unscrew the bass of this accordion, because it's different from most accordions. Most accordions, you can unscrew it, and the little wooden panel here comes off, and you can look inside and see how the mechanism works for the bass side. But this accordion is different. It's kind of a solid plastic piece on the bass side. This does not unscrew a panel. These screws here hold the bass mechanism in the right position on the inside. When it was put together at the factory, they took the bass mechanism and they put it inside this big dish kind of shape of the bass plastic, and then they put screws in to hold the mechanism in place, and then they put the whole accordion together the rest of the way. So now, if you take the screws off, the bass mechanism will come loose inside, clunk, and you can't get to it anywhere. You can't get to it from this side, and you can't get to it from the other side, because it's all sealed up in a box now. That's how they made this accordion at the factory. So don't ever unscrew these screws, because the bass mechanism will come loose and fall inside, and you'll never be able to reach in and put it in the right place and screw it back together again. So don't mess with the screws. And the screws on this side, take this gold cover off, and you can see the little levers. When you push the keys here, you can see the little levers that go like this, open and shut, and open little air holes. But I've taken a photograph of it without this gold cover on it, so you can see the photograph. So don't take the cover off. It's fragile, and you might mess it up. So just look at the photographs. It should be fine. And the inside of this part and this part both have reeds in it, rows and rows of reeds set in the right places that actually make the musical notes, and there's photographs of those too. So you can see in the photographs. You don't have to take this apart. So the bellows, this is called the bellows. It blows air and stuff. It opens and shuts. So it's pretty. It feels kind of sturdy on the outside. It's got little metal corners, and it's got kind of this sturdy tape on the edges. But most of the bellows is made of paper, thick paper, kind of like cereal boxes, maybe made of shoe boxes. It's not very sturdy. If you could tear it if you wanted to, but we don't want to do that. So it's complicated. It's all folded, and then the corners are folded and glued, and in very specific ways. And then it's got this tape stuck on, and then it's got these metal corners stuck on, and it has a little framework of wood that holds the whole thing together and lets you attach it to this side and this side. But the bellows itself is paper, so if it gets wet, it can tear very easily, or if it gets dropped on a sharp thing, it could poke a hole in it. Or another thing is that if you have a belt with a buckle here, or if you have lots of buttons that poke out a lot, big round buttons, or if you wear badges or anything scratchy or metal on the front of you, and you're playing and you're opening and shutting the bellows, it can rub against the bellows and it can scratch it. And you can see on this one it's got some marks here, and up on the top too, where it just rubbed against something on the previous owner. Maybe a belt buckle, probably a belt buckle. That's probably the most common one that can make scratches. So be careful with that. So this picnic cooler is going to be the case for the accordion. I didn't have a regular accordion case, and this is much sturdier and I think much more useful to help protect the accordion while it's being shipped on a plane, in a car, or just being carried around. It's really sturdy, it's insulated, it can take quite a beating, I think. So it has a built-in handle, makes it easy to carry. The lid just doesn't have a latch or a lock, so you just kind of pop it open like that, get its stuff in and out, and then you push down until it locks or shuts snugly. But like I said, it doesn't have a lock, so while you're traveling with the accordion, I've added a strap here that can wrap all the way around the cooler. Just snap it in there and then tighten it down a bit, and that way the lid can't pop open accidentally while it's being shipped around with suitcases or whatnot. And then also there's some extra buckle ends here and a shoulder strap that I've made. The shoulder strap is got like a double length. It can be made really, really long if you want. And it has two ends that are the same kind of ends, so they can't click together, so you can't really use this strap for any other function. It's just made to go with the accordion case. So just pop one in here, pop the other one in there, while this one is already locked, and then you've got this shoulder strap. You could put it on a shoulder, or stick your whole head in like this kind of thing. If you have to carry the accordion very far, then the shoulder strap takes a lot of the weight off your arm and it makes it a lot easier. So the shoulder strap, when you're not using it, it can just be kind of coiled up like this and kept in the case with the accordion, or you might kind of tie it in a couple of knots and then click it onto the extra strapping on the back or something to keep it out of your way. So inside the cooler case, there's this packet. It's just a folder, and it's got lots of the documents. It's got a songbook, an accordion instruction book that's from the 1930s, but it's still one of the best ones around. And it has this little packet of individual charts that I've made about fingering charts for the basses, and then a little pamphlet that's got 3 or 4 pages about how to take care of an accordion and keep it safe from heat and things like that. And so it's got this little rubber band things here that go like this to keep it shut. And you can add a few separate pages to this, but you can't add too much more or the thickness will be too great. It'll be too fat for the accordion to fit in here with it. So the accordion, I added this strap across the gold section up here so that when you want to put it in and out of the cooler, snap the ends shut tight first if you think of it. It makes it work better, because then you can hold it by this handle and lift it up and set it down inside. And you don't have to kind of hold on and let it kind of drop in or anything like that, because you can hold it by the strap. And then to get it back out again, you just lift it by the strap and then put your hand underneath and carry it this way. If the snaps weren't snapped, then when you went to pull it out, it would start to get a little bit saggy and baggy. It wouldn't open all the way, but it would open a little bit. The shoulder straps can either just hang down when you put it in the cooler, or you can loop them up over the top, whichever's handy. So you see the shape of the accordion when you look at it from the side. It goes straight up here, and then it kind of tilts out that way. And that's where this fits in, right? And that difference right there. And so if this gets to be too fat, then the whole thing is too fat to fit down inside. So just put this in first on the back side of the cooler, and then just set the accordion down in. And the accordion should set down nice and solidly on the base of the cooler on the bottom. And then this, when this shuts down, this ridge right here will touch the accordion on the top. You should be able to just like that without having to force it or push it shut or anything. And if you have to force it or push it shut, that means that something's in the way. So open it back up and figure out what's in the way. It should just go like that, and that's all you need to do. So this music book is too fat to go in that purple binder. So if you want to put it in the case too, it can just sit on top of the accordion. Doesn't really matter which way, because it's kind of flexible, and it can just sit in the top, and it fits okay like that. And it won't hurt the accordion to have it sitting on top of there. You shouldn't put anything else in here, like your lunch or a bottle of water or anything like that that might leak or damage the accordion or have moisture in it or anything like that. Or anything that's dusty or crystals, like sugary thing, and don't, keep that kind of stuff out. Just papers and documents and the accordion. So, okay. I'm also sending this book. It's a textbook from a class about music, how Western music is written on a page, how the different keys work together, sharps and flats, to make what we call a key, kind of an arrangement of a song. Talks about tempo, speeds, all sorts of things. At the beginning of the book, it teaches you the very beginning things about how to read music and how to understand how a piano keyboard works, and the distances between notes and chords, things that sound good together, things that don't. And then in the later parts of the book, it gets into much more complicated things. So if you just want to understand a little bit about how written music works or how keyboards work, then just look at the beginning parts of the book. But if you are interested and you want to learn lots more, then there's lots more in this book that you could find interesting. To put an accordion on, it's not a big deal. You should pick it up and hold it at the bottom with your hand up here or something. Don't just kind of swing it around by the straps or anything. Just pick it up and make sure you got a good hold on it before you walk around. And then when you sit down, just kind of put it down on your lap. I find it much easier to play while sitting down, although some people prefer to stand up. I have a hard time, especially playing the bass side while I'm standing up, because it's just sort of, it's hard to hold up. It feels like it's hard to hold up the bass side with your hand and play at the same time. It's hard for me to do. You might not have the problem, but I have a problem with it. So the straps, you just kind of put your arm in and kind of shrug your shoulders up like that. They have one buckle kind of back here on each side to let you adjust the length. Right now it's adjusted just about right for me. This strap should be a little bit longer than that strap. So the piano keyboard strap is a little bit longer than the bass strap. That is because you don't play an accordion with it centered exactly in the middle of the accordion. What you do is you have the accordion shifted over this way so that this line right about here where the piano keyboard ends is right about under your chin. It just gives this arm a comfortable place to play. Instead of trying to hold your arm back here and play, you want to be able to put your hand kind of more in the center part of your body and play, and it's more comfortable. And then the bass side here is very relaxed. He has a strap on this strap on the outside of your hand, and so when you see, I'm Snapchat. Where is the snap? Okay, now we're open. So when you play an accordion on the bass side, you just kind of the strap lets you pull against it, and also gravity just kind of encourages the whole thing to kind of fall open. That's not a very pretty note here. So gravity kind of lets it fall open a little bit, so you're not really pulling hard with your hand. You're just kind of pulling gently and letting gravity help. And then when it's time to come push it back in, it's not difficult to push, and you just keep your hand where you want it to be. And then there's this air button. It's hard to see because it's black, but it's right here on the back side, kind of at the top. And you can open it with your thumb or whatever your fingers you like. Thumb, it's kind of convenient to keep close by. And the purpose of the air button is to let you open or close the bellows without having to play any notes. Because if you try to pull it or push it, it's pretty airtight. Not completely, but pretty airtight. And you want it to be pretty airtight. That's very good. But if you, let's say you end a song and you're ta-da, and you're way out here, then how are you going to close it? So if you push the air button, it opens up just an air hole with no musical reed, and it lets you shut it. Or vice versa, if you want to open it for some reason, you push the air button and it lets you open and shut. Just whoosh whoosh, but no musical note. It's much more pleasant than if you finish the song and then say, oh, I got to shut the accordion, just a minute. Oh. Let's push the air button. Better. Okay. So this side of the keyboard is like a piano, just plays individual notes, and it plays the same note whether you're opening the accordion or shutting. Some accordions that have buttons, there's a lot of different kinds of accordions. This one's called a piano accordion because it has a piano keyboard on part of it. It doesn't have a series of buttons, it has a piano keyboard. And some accordions with buttons, if you play a note as you pull, then if you're still holding the same button down and you push, it plays a different note. So it goes, even though you're holding the same button down. So this is not like that. This one, whatever you're holding down on either side, it plays the same note if you pull or push. It's the same note and same chords. Okay, so that makes it easier to my mind, easier to figure out. So now I'm going to talk about the bass side. This part's pretty easy. Yeah, you can learn how to play this side if you know how to play the piano already, or if you just just sit down for the first time and just play with it, you can figure out how to play songs. Oh, that's fun. And you can play more than one note at a time. You can play whole chords, or you can just play individual notes. And it goes from, what's this down here? B. It goes from B all the way past the next B, and past the next B up to C. So it has 2 complete octaves plus an extra B note at the bottom. And then the bass side, this is a fairly small accordion. It's not the smallest, but it's a small-ish accordion as far as how many keys it offers here and how many it offers here. So it has 8 different rows this way. Actually, I guess I don't know if I call them rows or columns. Anyway, it has 8 this way and it has 5 this way. Big accordions have a much bigger set of buttons here. Some of them are duplicates, like at the very top they duplicate what's at the very bottom, but it still has lots more than this. And but even this many, it looks confusing to people. So I'm just going to talk to you about it for a minute. And it has a system, and when you understand the system, you go, oh, it's not so hard. So let's start with this button that's kind of feels different. It's in the second row this way, and it's kind of in the middle on this accordion. It has this kind of rubbery, bumpy feel to the top of it. And this is the button that plays a C. And here's a C. So we're going to ignore this first row for the time being. We're just going to talk about the second row and the ones along past beyond that. So the C is in the second row, and it plays only C notes by itself. It plays a higher note and a lower note, but they're both C's, an octave apart. Octave means they're 8 notes apart. Like octagon, 8. So they're 8 notes. It plays plays 2 C's, and then going this direction to the other rows of buttons, if you stay on the same diagonal row, it plays chords, sets of 3 notes that relate to this C button. So the button right next to the C, this second row is called the fundamental bases. Fundamental means like, it's down at the bottom, it's what everything is built upon, like a foundation. Fundamental bases. And then if you go to the next row that's a little bit uphill from the C, it plays a C major chord. That C major chord has a C in it, and it has 2 other notes that sound really good with it. And a happy major means happy, kind of a rounded, sounds happy kind of combination of notes. There's a technical way to put this, like it's so many steps away, up or down. But it just think C major is like, it's the C chord that's the happy chord. And then if you go another row away from the C, fundamental C, you'll get to what's called the C minor. Oh, it's sad, or it's scary, or a little bit tense, or something's a little spooky, maybe a little bit. That's the minor chord. But this one is called the C minor because it uses the C as a fundamental, and the minor chord has a C in it, but some other notes that make it be minor. Oh, woe is me. And then finally, the last row over here that's in the same row as the C is called the C major 7th. And it's a happy chord, but it has something in it that makes you think, something's changing, or something is about to change. What's that? That's kind of different. Okay, so we got the C, fundamental bass, major chord, minor chord, and 7th chord. All these rows here have the same setup as that row with the C. The second row is the fundamental bass. The third row is the major chord. The next row is the minor chord. And the last row is the major 7th chord. They're all the same. So, but they're based on a different note. So this one is based on C, and these others are based on different notes. And this is about the only thing that you really have to memorize is the order of the notes in the fundamental bass column. So let's start here at the top. It's hard to see, you have to lean over. Okay, so the top one is E. The next one is A. The next one is D, like dog. And then G. And here's our old friend, the C. After the C comes F. And then B flat and E flat. I think, why on earth did they put all those in there? Well, they fit together. When you start a song in the key of C, and you don't stay on the C chords all the time, you go to different chords that are related, sort of, and that sound good together. So you go, they do sound good together. And so if you're playing a song in the key of C, you usually start with this C chord, and then you often go up to F, and you'll often go down to G, and then you often come back to C again. By the way, you play the fundamental bass row with your ring finger, and you play the chords with your middle finger or your index finger. So where's the C button? Right there, with my ring finger. And then the chords are up here. So okay, in the basses, we've talked about this column of fundamental basses, the single notes, and then the major chords, minor chords, and seventh chords. But what about this first column of buttons on the basses? That column is called the counter basses. So you got the counter basses, and then right next to it you have the fundamental basses. So for most playing, you kind of use the fundamental basses as your home bass. That's where you just kind of are, and then you might move a little bit away from it and then come back to it. So our favorite button, the C, is in the fundamental basses. But what are some of these other counter basses that are nearby? Well, if you go in the same row this direction as the C is in, the button in the counter bass row is E, which is a distance away from C called a third. 1, 2, 3, C, D, E. That's how you get the name third. So if you want, you can play your C button and your E button at the same time. It's kind of strange, but interesting. When you're playing a pattern with your basses, you can do like that, just in the fundamental row, or you can occasionally hop over and play a note in the counterbass row to kind of spice it up a bit. You can do that, that's fun. Another thing about the counterbass row is that it can be combined with the fundamental basses to play a scale of separate bass notes. A scale is da 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 da. And it's tricky to learn, and I don't know how to do it very well, but I'll try to give you a very rough example. So I'm going to start with C, D, E, and then you go back to the fundamental bass row and go down below where the C was. And then to finish off the scale, you kind of go up here to, I think it's the B. And and then back over to where your home base C is. So you're kind of going here, then skip and go up, and then across and down a little bit, and then down and back and a little bit, and up and across, kind of like this little loopy thing. And you can use little bits of those notes to kind of add spice. Like when you're doing a bass line, you can go da 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 boom 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 boom, and it's easier for me to sing it than it is for me to play it because I haven't learned how to do it very well. So anyway, that's called the counter bass row, and it's next to the fundamentals, and it plays single notes, and the fundamentals also play single notes. And if you work on it, you can get really good and just kind of add lots of interest into your basses. It doesn't have to just be chords. It can be single bass notes and spice things up. Okay, have fun. So this part is a little complicated, but if it's for more advanced players who have kind of gotten the feel for how to use the accordion, and you go, well, how do I know which chord I'm supposed to play in a song if it's not written down for me somewhere? Like if I'm just sitting down playing by ear with no music in front of me, how do I know what chord to try to play? This is a chart that sort of shows the relationship between some chords. It's called the circle of fourths because the distance from here to here is a musical fourth, which is so many steps. And I like to think of this chart like a clock, and there's a copy of this chart in the case, the accordion case. It's kind of like a clock, and whatever key your song is in, like if you're going to play a song in the key of C that doesn't have any sharps or flats, these black keys here are sharps or flats, and when you're first beginning, it's easy to play on just the white keys, and it's kind of hard to think of what to use with the black keys. And so the easiest key to play is in the key of C. And so this has printed over here, it says G, and over here it has F, and that has some related chords next to it. So if you're going to play a song in the key of C, start with the C up at the top at the 12 o'clock position, and then you're going to play chords that are maybe over here, and work your way back to the C. Are you going to go over there just a little bit and then work your way back to the C? Ah, okay. So what if you want to play a song in the key of F that has a flat in it? Then either physically or in your mind, move it so that the F is at the 12 o'clock position. And then when you're playing the song, sometimes you'll go over to the C. Ah, yeah, that sounds right. And you come back to the F. And sometimes you go over to the B flat. Ah, I never thought I'd play that chord, but you will. And then you come back to the F. Those three sound right together. Okay, okay. And it's the same thing if you're going to play a song in the key of G. Rotate it so that the G is at the top, maybe just in your imagination. And then you can go over to the D, back to the G, over to the C, back to the G. And then if you want to play a minor chord that is part of this key, then you're going to go over this direction, several steps. And let's say that in the key of G, where are we? Then the minor chord that you're going to use for some songs is going to be all the way over to here in the E minor. E minor. Wow, that sounds bizarre. Yes, it is. And then you can come back to G, or you can come back to some of the steps in between. Some songs sounds really good. You're going to go here, do, 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 and then you go way over to the minor chord that's part of that set, and then you work your way back. Instead of jumping all the way back, you can sometimes work your way back one of these chords at a time, and it sounds really cool. So, the key that you're playing in is at the top. You go here, right, left, and if you want to go to a minor, then you go way over this direction, and then work your way back. So for the key of C, then the minor chord that you might use most often is A minor. Occasionally you want to go to E minor, but mostly A minor. And then you can either bounce all the way back, or you can kind of come back in steps. I've never come across a song where you start here and you go way down here. Ooh, no. The the furthest I've ever gone this other direction is 2. There's a song by John Denver called Country Roads Take Me Home. And in the, I think they call it the bridge, I see her, I hear her voice in the morning hours. She calls me. The radio reminds me of my home far away. And all this time you're just kind of up here in the normal places. And then when you get to this part, and driving down the road, I had a feeling that I should have been home yesterday. It goes, and driving down the road way over here to B flat. And then you work your way back this direction. It's really cool. Driving down the road, I get a feeling that I should have been home yesterday. Try it. You'll like it. So sometimes when you're playing a song and trying to sing along, especially if you're trying to sing along, sometimes it's hard to sing because it's way too high for your voice or it's way too low for your voice. And so you want to change to a different chord, different key with sharps and flats or no sharps or flats. You change to something different where your voice feels more comfortable singing at that level. So that's easy, really easy to do on the bass side. It's very easy to change to a different set of chords, different key. If you're starting off in the key of C with no sharps or flats, then when you change to a key like the key of G or the key of F, you're going to have to add a black key in here somewhere to compensate for it. So let's start with a very simple song that's in, I think it's in the instruction book, the Sedlon book, instruction book, and it's called Bury Me Not on the Prairie or Bury My Heart on the Prairie or something like that. It's a little cowboy song. Let me see. Okay, it starts on G, but with the C over here, C chord in the bass. Okay, so that was in the key of C. So what if that's hard for me to sing for some reason? I want to change to the key of F. Then let's see. So this song didn't start on the C. It started there. So then go C 1, 2, 3. About 4 steps below an F. 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe it'd be. Okay, so. So I had to move everything up, and instead of playing a B natural, I had to play a B flat because that's how it's in a key of F. But so this side's a little more complicated to figure out what to do. But over on this side, it was so much easier because I started off playing playing in the key of C. So when I was playing in the key of C and I started with my C chords, that's how it was for the key of C. But if I want to change to the key of F, I can just pick up my whole bass hand and shift it one spot over. And now my fundamental bass key is F, and I'm playing the F-related chords. So when I was playing it in the key of C, I started on the C, and I went up one, I went down one, and back to C. And if I'm going to change it and begin in the key of F, there I am on my beginning of the key of F, then I move it. When I'm playing the song, I'll move it up one and down one in the same pattern that I used before when I was in the key of C, but I just picked my whole hand up and moved it on to start on F. And if I wanted to, I could pick my whole hand up and move it and start it on the key of G or D or A. I have to leave enough room to be able to go up one and down one because this accordion doesn't have too many more down places over here. And if I want to start way up here, I have to leave enough room for me to be able to go up one, to there, it would not fall off the edge here. And also if my song includes a minor chord, then you have to leave more elbow room up this direction because, like I was saying, because for the, if you're in the key of C, then the minor chords that you go to most often are A, which is right there. So you need to, you can shift from one key to another, but you have to kind of think through your whole song and think, how far am I going to have to jump to get to? And do I have room to jump there, or am I going to fall off the edge and not have what I need down here or up here? To play notes on the bass side as part of a song, you can do a couple of different things. You can just hold them down and keep them down. And that's fine. I tend to do that a lot myself. But or you can make a pattern that sort of keeps tempo with the song. You push the fundamental bass first, and then you play the chord button by itself. That's for a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 kind of tempo. So that sounds more interesting. It's kind of nice. If it's a song that goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then you could go. So you can do that. But if you do that for every single song, it gets kind of boring. There's a fancier way. There's a fancier way, similar but a little bit fancier, and that is you go to the bass, fundamental bass note right next to it, and then come back to the chord. C, G. I can't do it. Anyway, that's another option. Or you can just simply, whatever the song is, you do whatever suits your fancy. You can go or but sometimes when you're playing, you have to kind of look off to the side here to concentrate. You can't look at people and smile at people and interact with them unless you know your music really, really well. Sometimes you just have to detach your vision and just focus on your thinking about your hands. And so you might get this kind of look in your eyes like you're not really, you're bored or something, but you're not bored. You're concentrating. And you're concentrated by not looking at people. So if you're putting on a show or performing in front of people and you want to have good interaction, then you have to know your music really well so that the inputs coming in from your eye don't distract you from what you're playing here. Okay, I'll play a simple song for you and you can see how the chord transitions go. In a pretty straightforward song. So this is song 226 from the songbook, Jesus Loves Me, This I Know. It's in the key of C. That means up here in this area there aren't any little sharp or flat emblems. There's just the squiggle that shows it's a treble clef and then the time signature for how to count it. But it's in the key of C and it only uses 3 chords for the whole song. C, F, C, C, F, C, G. Anyway, it starts with a C, it goes up to F, back to C, sometimes it goes down to G, So 3 chords, no minor chords, pretty straightforward. And even though it's in the key of C, and you start with C over here on the basses, even though that's the case, over here on the trebles, it doesn't start on C, it starts on G. That sounds right. Okay, so here we go. Starting with the basses on C and going down to G. And now we're going to be on C and go up to F. Or, yeah. Whoops. And then we're back to C, and we'll go down to G again in a minute. Up to F. Back to C. Now G. Now, on the treble side, I've just been playing single notes, but it sounds better on a lot of things if you play more than one note at a time. You can play something called thirds. Those could be nice in limited quantities. Sometimes people play whole songs that way, and it just gets kind of too sweet, yucky after a while. So I like a little, but not too much. I like to play songs with a little bit more distance between the notes. That I like something called a fifth. And so this is all the way down to a C, and this is up at the G. And then, so you can kind of mix fifths and thirds together there. I kind of did that. And this bottom line can kind of stay level in a lot of places through the song. It sort of acts as a drone, kind of a leveling effect to it. And I kind of like that personally. So there's another bass pattern you can do that isn't really a pattern in itself. It just kind of fits to the song that you're playing. If the song is bouncy, then you kind of play the basses in a bouncy fashion. So that's what I'm going to demonstrate for you right now. This song is called At Calvary. It's number 415 in the songbook. Sometimes, especially if you're by yourself or just have some time to kill and you don't care who's listening, by yourself is better. Sometimes it's just fun to just mess around. Make things up that sound good. Sometimes they can put together into a song. Sometimes you're just thinking and playing at the same time. It's very peaceful. And if you're familiar with very many songs, popular songs or church songs or classical music or something, sometimes you can figure out little tidbits. If you're by yourself, it's okay if you make mistakes. You can figure out where you're going, and then you can make it better later if you want to. But it's just you. Ah. My apologies to people who really know that song and the way it's supposed to be played. But you get the point. Just doodle around and see what comes out.